Howdy folks, welcome to another video. Thank you so much for having the channel reach 1,000 subscribers. It means the world, and I wouldn't be here without you guys. And this is my face. I decided to do a face reveal for 1,000 subs. I didn't know really what to do as a celebration. Figure this is adequate. This is a good thing to do for it. Yeah, so for this video, it's going to be another 24-hour challenge. I essentially asked my wife to give me a prompt, a small description of a nightmare she has had, and then try to turn it into a game. So it's not going to be as playable as some of the other games you guys have seen me make, like Collateral or Slender, just due to the nature of me trying to take a nightmare and then turn it into gameplay. But I'm pretty happy with how it turned out, so let's get right into it. Alright, so first thing I have to cover is the prompt I received. What Joanna wrote is, I was driving on a bridge and we got into a car crash, and when I got out, the person that hit me was a killer clown, and then I stabbed him and gouged out his eyes and killed him. A lot of that is going to have to be censored for YouTube, but that's what we were working with. So the first thing I had to do was actually just mess around with the Chaos Vehicles plugin in Unreal for a bit. I'd never really worked with vehicles before, and so I had to figure out at least how to make one drivable and kind of like see what kind of events they have so that I could use them to implement game logic. So considering the game is about getting into a car crash on a bridge, the first thing I did was find a modular bridge asset I could use in the game. I wasn't going to model stuff myself for a 24-hour game. That's just really difficult to do, especially for like the kind of visual style I like going for in games. And I enjoy making the actual mechanics more than I do just making the artwork. So that's why I went that route. Next thing I did was I added ultra dynamic sky to the game. I can't emphasize this enough, immediately going to give your game just so much higher quality and vibes. I honestly recommend it so much. If you have like $20 to spend, that's the first $20 you should spend on your game development hobby. And then immediately Unreal Engine crashed, which made me lose all my progress, and that's just expected. That comes with just working with Unreal Engine. So I remade the bridge, and then I got to work kind of adding invisible walls to the sides of the bridge so that the player can't just jump off and ruin the flow of the game. So at this point in the development, I didn't really have a cohesive idea of how I was going to be handling the car crash and all of that. And so my idea was to kind of make an endless bridge. I don't know why, but that's something I was pursuing pretty actively earlier in the development of this game. And so I made this system that would essentially allow for me to not have to just use an infinite amount of meshes, but instead just procedurally move chunks of the bridge forward or backwards based on where the player crosses it. This didn't really make it into the final game, but I spent a lot of time on it, and I thought the system was actually pretty cool, if not a little simple, but I just wanted to share that here. So another thing I needed to build, which I had no idea how to do, was making a self-driving car. So I needed the AI clown car to essentially drive into the player, and I didn't really know how to approach that, so I ended up achieving it by essentially adding steering inputs, as well as just lerping the position of the vehicle slightly over, and then adding a thick fog overlay so you don't really see it coming. It ended up pretty good. I haven't been able to make it miss me yet in all of my playtesting. Would be interested to see if you guys can manage to do so. So the next thing I needed to do was add kind of an actual character model to the game. So you guys haven't ever seen my wife, but essentially she's short and brunette. So that's what I was going for in terms of a character model I find, considering it's her nightmare. So she would be the one that's stabbing the clown. I found a model here that looked similar enough to do the trick, and so I just swapped out kind of the character model. So the next thing I did was implement kind of the logic for the first part of the game, which is when the car actually crashes into you, you need to make the player exit the vehicle, and then spawn the killer clown for the stabbing. Alright, so I think this is probably the most interesting and novel aspect of this game. So, how I see it is the game is split up into two parts. There's the driving and car crash part, and then there's the stabbing part. The driving and car crash really can't really make it too interesting. You're just driving from point A to point B on a bridge and getting hit by a car. So that part was really just like bare bones. I didn't really want to spend too much time on it. But for this next section, which is obviously the part, I wanted to really emphasize that motion. So as opposed to like just having the player repeatedly like click or press a specific button, I wanted to like kind of mimic the motion. So with the mouse, they would have to like move it up and down and move it around. And I achieved that in what I consider a pretty put together and held together by duct tape kind of way. But it works and it feels pretty good to use. So yeah, I got started by just creating a new level with the same kind of bridge as the previous level, just so that it is visually consistent and doesn't look weird. Then I created a completely new pawn. The reasoning for this is just because the perspective and the gameplay is going to be completely different. So there's no reason to try to like use the same character for what is essentially just a completely different game or mini game or level. Right, and then on to the interesting part. So there's this thing called inverse kinematics. What it allows for you to do is just define kind of the way joints and bones interact with one another and how they move in space together, and then you can use that to kind of like solve backwards. So as opposed to me animating something by hand and then playing it, I could basically use the animation blueprint alongside of just like some predefined kind of like limbs or essentially physical properties of the limbs in order to make them move in a convincing way to a location. And so I set that up in the animation blueprint and then essentially take the mouse input and convert that to a clamped vector, which will determine the X and Y axis of the hand, as well as allow for the mouse up and down to kind of create a static motion. And this is the end result here. I'm not showing the part with the knife and the gore, just because I'm pretty sure that wouldn't be allowed on YouTube, but you can kind of get the picture. So right, for the final section, all I really wanted to do is kind of add a little bit of branching or diverging endings to the game. So what I did was, after kind of implementing all of the different blood and gore effects, I made it so that depending on if you stabbed the clown or not, you get different endings. So one of them is kind of, well, I don't want to spoil them, but essentially this is the second ending I created where you don't stab the clown at all. And I mostly did it because I wanted to learn kind of how to make level sequences. I think that would help me in Collateral to kind of like get some cutscenes or stuff going. And so that's what I did here. Level sequences turns out pretty damn useful and pretty easy to use as well. Essentially, you can just view it as kind of like an animation or any kind of keyframe thing where you can take a bunch of different objects in your scene and then set different properties as well as positions and transforms, and then just play them out in kind of like a sequence and view it. This is kind of like a sneak peek of the end result. I don't want to share the entire thing in case you guys are going to play it. And yeah, let's move on to my wife's gameplay of the game and her reactions to it. Try it out. Hold on.
I'm excited.
Your dream.
My dream come true.
Let's play.
This weather is ridiculous, but I really need to get home. No one should be on the roads this late anyways.
Why can't I turn? Oh wait. Oh! I'm trying to.
Oh, click it. Click it.
Oh. How do I do? Why is he healing? Why is he healing? Why is he healing? No. Wait, is he gonna kill me now? No! That's terrifying!
Like that.
That's terrifying.
You've seen the game. How would you say it compares to your dream?
I give it a 10 out of 10.
Alright folks, well, that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed it. You heard it here first. Midnight Drive has received a glowing 10 out of 10 by my wife, whose nightmare it was. So that's incredible. If you've made it this far, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, because it would help a lot. Leave comments with your nightmares in the description. Maybe I'll pick one to do for the next video. And yeah, thanks for tuning in. I'll see you guys in the next one.